Hello, welcome to the History Center of San Luis Obispo County. We are so thrilled to have such an amazing audience, both here in the museum as well as online via Zoom. There will be a recording of this Zoom, and so you can check the History Center website. Any of your friends or relatives who weren't able to join us, that will be available on the History Center website. The History Center is absolutely overjoyed to be hosting this amazing exhibit, put on by such a phenomenal team and about such an important family in San Luis Obispo County's history. It is part of the History Center's mission to promote the understanding and appreciation of San Luis Obispo County's cultural and historical heritage. We are thrilled to be able to offer programming like this for free. If you do value this and you do want to see this continue, we would be thrilled to receive a donation. And so without any further ado, I am going to start the program with the second archaeologist named Dr. Jones that I have ever met. Please give a warm welcome to the leader of the team, Dr. Terry Jones.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Probably not the first time I've heard a joke about my name. Being an archaeologist, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here this evening myself. Welcome to you all. A special welcome to the Yoshida family, who I think there's at least 33 of them here tonight. I had the great pleasure of meeting most of you in person almost exactly a year ago when we started on this journey that's going to culminate in tonight's presentation and the introduction of this display. The family came together when we initiated an archaeological investigation of the homestead occupied by their relatives between 1928 and 1936. I have to confess to a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of stress, and I think the students are going to support me on this. The Yoshida family has been so incredibly helpful, so fair, so thoughtful. They've really been our partners in trying to interpret their history. And so the stress comes from us wanting to really represent you correctly. We've wanted to do this right. And I really do hope that when you get a chance after the opening comments to see the display, I really hope that we've met your expectations. So, indeed, tonight we are introducing the display that we've created, presenting the results of the archaeological investigation that was undertaken over a 4-day period, almost exactly a year ago, over Memorial Day weekend in 2024, when again we were joined by 24 members of the Yoshida family. We had a class of 25 Cal Poly students. I want to recognize them for their really hard work, because it's a little well-kept secret that archaeology is actually physically demanding. I try not to tell them that until they get out there. That field stint was followed by a laboratory class that was held in the winter. We had 12 more students. Some of them were holdovers from the field. Some of them were new students. I want to recognize their efforts. And then after that, and very, very fortunate, we've had a number of Cal Poly students. We have 4 students who have helped complete this display for part of their senior project. We have 1 student who's a graduate student who's here with us today. He also has been a big part of this. And then we have a student who graduated from our program a few years ago who is now a graduate student at CSU Chico, and she is doing this project for her master's thesis. So I have to say that I'm very, very fortunate. These are some of the most hardworking, most talented students that I've worked with in my 27 years of teaching at Cal Poly, and indeed, I will accept the prize for that. Brandon. Yes. So before I'm going to turn the podium over actually to them, I want them each to talk about the things that they feel this project, the highlights of this project, and then their personal perspectives on the project. But before I do that, I want to also acknowledge a few institutions and a few individuals. First of all, I really want to thank the History Center. I want to thank Thomas and Brittany so much for giving us an opportunity. They do great work. Thank you so much. And then I also want to acknowledge and thank PG&E. The site that we investigated is today owned by PG&E. It's on land that's dedicated to the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant. And a lot of people may not realize that PG&E also does some really positive things on that property related to that property. And so I want to acknowledge Mike Taggart, who is here with his family, I know. He was a representative of PG&E that has supported this project, that saw to it that when we were conducting the excavation, that we had vehicles to transport the family members out to the site, because having them participate with us in the field was one of the most powerful experiences that I've had in 45 years of being a professional archaeologist. So I'd like a round of applause for Mike Taggart. And then also, I hope that she's here because there was another PG&E employee, Sally Grant. Sally, are you here? And she said, there she is. Sally established a connection with the Yoshida family in the early 2000s. Not only did she establish that connection, which allowed us to know who to contact when we wanted to investigate this, but she and the other representatives from PG&E saw to it that the Yoshida family history was recorded. So we have a very complete written document describing their history, and also they collected ethnographic video recordings of the Yoshida descendants. And so what I want to do before I turn the podium over to the students, I want to just, and technology be willing, I want to show you a little clip of Charlie Yoshida, who was the second oldest male in the family. This is him in 2013. Sadly, he passed away in 2020. But the things that he says in this, and I hope you can hear it, are themes that we try to carry forward in the display. So let's all nod to the technology gods. Okay. Okay. And now we want to go to. Okay, Julie, one more time, if you give me a thumbs up, if you can see the video, see the YouTube. Perfect, thank you.
Oh, right on the right there by Picho, right here. Well, we had lettuce, we had artichoke, and artichoke sprout, and lettuce springtime. Except fruit, that we have to buy. Or we had fresh water spring about 2 miles. We walked straight through and then walk about a mile up the hill in the canyon, and there's a spring. And then the spring, a lot of water is running down and then down the gutter, but it soaks in. But we had it tapped up right into the waterfall. I went to school, Sunnyside School. I went there from kindergarten to 7th grade. And then from there I went to San Luis Junior High School. There used to be a Japanese school right there by the bridge. And then every day after grammar school or high school, we used to study there. And we had a teacher from Mm.
She was a lady.
Yeah, later, yeah. She was from Japan, but she wanted a job, so she taught us a lot of Japanese, Japanese and English. Well, we were all young yet, 17, so we had to stay for the family, so we stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the Teruokas, did they go to Fresno?
Yeah, well, they had a relative down there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Teruoka's cousin was from Fresno, so they went there. Part of the equipment was left by Petro. And when we left, Spooner says, leave everything alone. We'll take care. No, as soon as we're gone, he sold it. Yeah, because during those times, after, the equipment stopped making farm equipment, they all went to wartime things, see. So it was easy to sell it, but they took it away from us. Mm-hmm.
And what about the produce that was in the ground ready for harvest? I think you had mentioned.
Oh, well, no, we left it, but those guys, they don't know how to harvest it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
they just, maybe 1 month, so they cut the artichoke, and after that, it's gone.
it was all lost.
Gone.
all
It's
that
lost.
must be you put in.
Yeah.
Here, I can say something first.
Okay.
It's just a reference. So I hope you all picked up that the one thing that he said there, which is somewhat disturbing. It's the way that this family's life ended on the Petro Coast when their farm equipment was sold out from them. But the other thing that comes through, I think, in that video is he's recounting a fairly idyllic life on the Petro Coast with fresh vegetables, with fresh water. And I've probably watched that video about 50 times. And in creating this display, we try not only to get the facts right, but also to try to bring out the feelings that that come through with that particular video clip. So I have another video clip. This is move forward 11 years. This is a video that was put together to promote the project or describe the project by Cal Hollow. This actually talks about the archaeological investigation of the homestead in 2024.
I personally, coming out here, was a little nervous for how hard of work it was going to be, but when you're looking at the materials, none of that matters anymore, and you're just so excited to keep digging, literally.
No way, no way.
Where is it? Oh, right there.
You're right there.
This is a site that was occupied by Japanese-American tenant farmers who were here between 1928 and 1942 when they were forcibly removed to an internment camp. We're taking out, recovering everything we find that's cultural. So shellfish, ceramics, glass, metal, nails, marbles. We're gonna piece together the pieces that go together and come up with a real full catalog or inventory of all the objects and what they represent. Oh my goodness, wow. Well, that'll be really great to show the Yoshidas.
We've got a bag dedicated to a plate with that same kind of design.
Pattern and design, and
We're trying to put it back together. We have about 6 pieces right now.
Well, there's interesting. Yeah, because during the war, there's pottery in it, like bowls that my mom has, and it's made in occupied Japan.
You're in a pretty untouched environment because it's protected by PG&E and people aren't out here. So if you do find something, then you know, like, humans were here. I think the coolest thing that we have found was a spark plug. it says Champion Ford on it, and we think it's from the tractor that they used to use.
So we think it's like a piece of a toy. It kind of looks like a little firefighter, like driving a steering wheel, has his little hat on.
This is my first time getting to do excavation. We have to go pretty much layer by layer. So, you know, we have our surface layer, and then we go 10 centimeters down, and then we have to stop. We have to
the master recordings of our first albums when this company acquired the legal
picking through the shell pieces of ceramics that are found
without my approval.
and it takes a while. It took us about a day and a half to get through just 10 centimeters, and then we got to begin and dig 10 centimeters down.
So yeah, it can come down.
Definitely like just had a lot of girls when we were in school together, and like was
It's kind of funny.
good. You're at like 19.
My name is Linda Takahashi. My mother is Margaret Yoshida, so she was born in 1932, so she would have been 10 when they lived in this area. My mother's family, Yoshida family, traveled a lot. You know, they worked as itinerant workers. This is the piece of land that my grandmother really considered home, was Pecho. So it's just kind of cool, you know, just to be here as part of that, a learning experience for everyone.
It's a little hard to see, but you can see right there, 1919.
It's one thing to be reading about history in a book, to be reading about anthropological theory, and that's all well and good, and it's important, but in the end, life happens outside of the classroom. It happens outside of books. I think there's tremendous value into actually being out in the real world, dealing with real objects, dealing with getting dirty, dealing with doing hard physical labor, because archaeology is not, in fact, easy. All of those things together represent a pretty important life experience.
Okay. Let me just say that there were some really emotional, powerful moments out there. That wasn't the only one. There were for all of us. I think the family members that were out there would agree with that, yes, and the students as well. So I can't thank you again for having been out there and for being here tonight. Before I introduce my first student, let me just say that we do hope to move forward with this project. My hope is that we're going to actually install the display on the Cal Poly campus a year from today. The display will be here in the History Center through August 3rd. So the History Center is open 11 to 5 every day except Tuesday. There you go. And again, our hope is that we will put it on install it on the campus next year. And also we're looking at the possibility of creating an electronic version of it. And finally, there's also the possibility that we may do further excavations. There were 7 families, as you're going to hear, that were out there. And it's possible that we might engage in some further investigations in the future. So thank you all for being here this evening. And let me introduce my first student speaker, Jesse Horsley.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the student's perspective during this whole learn the whole process here. So from a student's perspective, participating in every single stage of this project, from field excavation to actually setting up a display here at the History Center, is something a lot of undergrads don't get a chance to do. This has provided a level of professional experience few undergraduates get, regardless of major, never get access to. This research opportunity has made it possible, or was made possible through the first initial funding by the Anthropology and Geography Department, Learn by Doing Fund, which allowed us to go to the Society for California Archaeology's conference in Burlingame this year. There we were able to share this research with many career archaeologists and cultural resources specialists, where they recognize the importance of our work. This was also later echoed by Cal Poly alumni at the recent Green and Gold fundraising banquet. where they who support further reinforce the value of this research. From conducting the pre-field investigation work to try and pinpoint the exact location of the family's farmhouse and privy to the potential scientific publication that could help bridge the gap in the historical and archaeological record about Japanese Americans on or throughout California. This experience not only has deepened our understanding of archaeology and our country's history during this dark era, but has also definitely set a strong foundation for us moving forward after graduation. And next up, we have Lacey May.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lacey May. I just want to thank everyone for being here. This is an amazing turnout. Especially the Yoshidas. It was amazing working with you in the field. It's amazing to see you here. Like Dr. Jones mentioned, this was an incredibly, unexpectedly for me, emotional experience. When I got into archaeology, I thought it would just be dirt and rocks. So being able to actually work and humanize the things that you find was an amazing experience. When we went to the California Archaeology Conference and the Green and Gold Banquet, another unexpected thing for me was the number of people that shared very similar stories about their families and having been incarcerated during World War II. And it was not that long ago. So this project was amazing and has brought so many people together. But it's also because of a pretty dark chapter in US history. Order 9066 impacted a lot of people. It is hard to pinpoint the exact number of Japanese American families that were interned and incarcerated during World War II, but a roundabout number is a little over 120,000 people. That's not insignificant. And there were 10 different camps around the country that they were sent to. And there were no charges made, no appeals could be made, an extremely unfair part of our history. And I would be remiss to not mention the other families that were present on the Peicho Coast. So please excuse my pronunciation if I mess up a little bit. Obviously, we have the Yoshidas, the Teraokas, the Fujidas, the Fujiwaras, the Nakamuras, and the Honda family. And I really hope that this today helps kind of solidify this chapter in people's minds. It certainly wasn't something that I spent a lot of time on learning and when I was growing up here. But I hope that this kind of brings it back into the fold. So thank you again, and I'll pass it on to everyone. Here, can everyone hear me? No, okay. How about now? Yes. Awesome. All right, I'd like to thank everyone once again for coming here. Means a lot to all of us to share this experience with you all. When I told my family about this project, my aunt said something that has stuck with me. She told me that she had never learned about the incarceration of Japanese Americans, and it wasn't until her 40s, when she met a family who had lived through it, that she finally heard the truth. For decades, this part of our history had been hidden from her, essentially erased. And if it was hidden from her, how many others didn't get the chance to learn about it either? This is why it matters that we teach the full story, not just the patriotic chapters, but the painful ones too. When we leave out the injustices, we don't just forget the past, we risk repeating it. Historical amnesia is not neutral. It affects power, excuses violence, and allows systems of oppression to survive generation after generation. When we leave out the hard parts of our past, we create a warped picture of who we are. Teaching a sanitized version of US history isn't just dishonest, it's dangerous. It robs younger generations of the tools to recognize injustice when it happens again. We've seen renewed attempts to suppress the teaching of difficult history, from the Trump administration's 1776 commission to state-level bans on curriculum that addresses racism, colonialism, and systematic repression. This isn't about protecting students from discomfort. It's about preserving power by controlling the narrative. We're seeing the echoes of this erasure play out today, not just here in the US, but around the world. In Gaza, in the Middle East, In Sudan and South Sudan and Ukraine, communities are being torn apart by violence and dehumanization. The tactics of scapegoating and silencing repeat across borders and eras. This exhibit is not just about history, it's about vigilance. Remembering the incarceration of Japanese Americans isn't just to honor those who lived through it, it's to prepare ourselves to stand up against justice today. Because the past is not behind us, it is with us, always. Next. Yeah.
Everybody. How are we doing tonight? Um, like I was said, my name is Colin Marvia. I am the lone graduate student other than Rachel Burgess, who joined this project. I graduated last year with my degree in anthropology and geography, and since I was sticking around at Cal Poly, I kindly asked Terry if I could please stay on this project because I needed something to keep me busy, and he thankfully said yes. And then with helping out in the lab, the students working on the senior project, these wonderful undergrads right in front of me, allowed me to kind of stay on and then help with this exhibit, which is something that I am incredibly thankful for. It's been such an impactful experience to get to work on this project and to get to study this history. It's something that I'm very passionate about and very thankful to have had this opportunity. I'd like to thank these students in front of me for their relentless work on this project, both in the field, in the lab, at the conferences, here in the History Center. Without you four, this couldn't have happened. Dr. Terry Jones, I want to extend such a heartfelt thank you to you for helping me in my undergraduate education as well as my graduate education. I would like to also thank the History Center, Thomas Kessler and Brittany Webb, as well as the Yoshida family, of course. There's a few others who I'd like to mention as well, just due to their immense contributions to this project, as well as archaeology as a whole on the Central Coast. And that would be the Yaktitutu Yaktilhini Northern Chumash tribe. Some of you might not know, but whenever archaeological excavations are conducted, tribal representatives for local tribes must be present on the site, supervising at all times. And for this region, that is the Yaktitutu Yaktilhini. And so we had tribal representatives, Mona Tucker, Willow Olivos Manos, and Hannah Smith from the tribe out at the site on different days, working with the students, educating us on their history, and helping us preserve the history of the Yoshida family. And so I would like to do a round of applause for the Waikiki tribe. And as well as to PG&E, and there's a couple other students that I'd like to thank as well, some other past students of Terry. It would be Justin Tidd, Emma Francis Cook, and of course, Rachel Burgess, who's using this for her master's thesis. And then I'd just like to thank all of you for being here today and seeing what we've created. And that'll be the end of my time, and I'd like to bring up our last student, Annie Pagel.
Evening. I'm going to finish off the student portion of the speeches by first just thanking again the Yoshida family for everything that you've done for this project. It truly could not be what it is without your commitment and your passion and your patience through probably hundreds of email threads back and forth. All of the historical photographs that add so much more personality and just a really closer look into who you are as a family. Working on this working on a senior project like this isn't just looking into books, reading articles. I mean, it is a lot of that, but it's not just that. We got to actually connect with people. And as an anthropology student, that's all we can ask for. So I just want to thank you again for all of your excitement and your patience again, even trekking all the way out to the excavation. Some of you guys even getting your hands dirty, that was amazing because it was quite dirty and windy. And for being patient through our interviewing process. We took you guys into the trailer on the site and we asked personal questions And you guys were more than generous with your responses. And again, it would not have created such an amazing display. So we just want to thank you again and for being here. It's amazing to have such a big family show up and be really excited about their history, even if they've never met their family members before. So I think you guys are an embodiment of what we try to show in our display about themes of perseverance and endurance, and we're really excited to share with you guys. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce the first of 4 members of the Yoshida family who also want to address the group. This is Irene Yoshida, Charles Yoshida's 3rd daughter.
Yeah, hi there, everybody. I'm Irene, and that was my dad, Charles. He passed away about 5 years ago at the age of 96. And a huge thank you to Cal Poly archaeology students, Jones and PG&E, for inviting us to witness the excavation of the Yoshida family homestead. That took place a year ago, and what an unforgettable day it was. Our family got to walk the land we once called home. We joined the students for only a few hours, and we stayed miraculously clean while the students did the hard work digging with care for about 4 days in the sun, wind, and tick season included. Seeing the uncovered artifacts felt like meeting our early ancestors for the very first time. It was part excavation, part emotional family reunion. These objects, like the tools, toys, dishes, made the past feel alive and close. So thank you for keeping us in the loop. As you cleaned, processed, and identified the artifacts, you helped uncover stories, memories, and curiosity in all of us. Through your field work, the past lives of the Yoshidas and the 6 Japanese families at Peicho Ranch won't fade into the background. You've made our hidden immigrant history come alive and visible, and for that we are very grateful.
Thank you, Irene. Our next speaker is Reish Yoshida, her sister, Charles' first daughter.
I just wanted to share the story of how our family returned to Peicho. It was 17 years ago, and that was back in 2008 when my dad had found out that PG&E had opened up the northern part of Dogville Canyon power plant property. And so he thought maybe he could be on the Peicho property, maybe he would see Lion Rock. But that didn't come to pass, and it was just a couple of months later, Sally Pren, PG&E senior biologist, reached out to my dad and invited the Yoshida family back to Peicho. So in 2009, 25 of us went back to Peicho, including Peicho's siblings, Auntie Inez, Auntie Rose, Auntie Sandra, and my dad, and 2 siblings that were born after leaving Peicho, Auntie Margie and Auntie Betsy. So the elder siblings reminisced, told stories, recreating memories of what it was like to live on Peicho. And then we did a little excavating ourselves on the surface, and we found abalone shells and turban sea snail shells. And I'll just jump forward 4 years. In 2013, PG&E's Mike Taggart, a senior cultural resources specialist or engineer, invited us back within Sally too to see signage that PG&E had installed on the Point Buchan Trail overlooking the farmland, and I think Lion Walk may have been in the distance. So the signage itself told the story about the 6 Japanese families who had lived there, and it told about how they lived there in the 20s, 30s, and early 40s before being incarcerated and having to leave the property. On the signage, it also showed a little black and white inset photo of grandfather Tomichi, Uncle Moss, Auntie Inez, and my dad. We went back to the Pecho site, 14 of us, and we did a little more digging around, and we found 2 marbles that we presume were marbles that the Yoshida boys and maybe their Pecho friends might have played with. And then we ended the day with the barbecue hosted by PG&E and at Sally's house, and the barbecue manned by, I believe, the local ranchers. And so I just wanted to say, if Sally and Mike could just wave their hands in case any of you don't know them, they she is already. I just want to say a grateful thank you for beginning our journey to Pecho and continuing it, and collaborating with Dr. Jones and students to bring about this special exhibit tonight. So thank you. And I want to introduce my cousin Pam, who is
It's so fitting that we're here this evening, and I feel that this event is a celebration of the month of May, which is Asian Pacific Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So thank you for the timing of this exhibit. I'm Pam Yoshida. My father was Masao Yoshida, the oldest of the 12 Yoshida siblings. And the visits to Pecho were the first time that I had ever been to the place where my dad and his siblings spent their early childhood. During the 3 visits to Pecho, I looked across the ocean and thought, our grandparents, the Issei, came so far from Japan for a better opportunity. And I wondered why they decided to choose this place to live and work. Does this landscape remind them of Japan? And is this why they thought of Pecho as home? Japan's an island country, and I imagined the thought of Japan looking across the ocean, or they thought of Japan looking across the ocean. The experience of being in Pecho showed the hardships and courage the early Isseis, which was the first generation of Japanese in America, endured. So maybe that's why they didn't talk about it. It was a hard life filled with uncertainty. And this is referred to as generational trauma, and it can last for several generations. My dad did not talk about Pecho. Growing up, I saw that he ate very fast, then left the table immediately. And this was from probably years of eating in shifts at a table that did not seat 13 people. When he married in 1954, 10 years after the Yoshida family, now numbering 12 children, left Tule Lake, lived in a barn in Auburn, then farmed in Lodi, and finally established roots in Watsonville, he and my mother honeymooned in Morro Bay. And talking to my cousin Grace about that, it may have been that this was a place that he knew and had good memories of. Recently, I had the experience of being in Japan and saw the Yokohama train station and train tracks where all North American Japanese migrated from. And I thought this was the last time that the Issei saw the Japan that they never returned to. Again, I looked across the ocean from the port of Yokohama and thought they were so brave to do this. The hardship of living in Pecho with no running water or electricity was not as dehumanizing as being sent to the incarceration camps at the start of World War II. This changed their lives and our lives forever. These years were the true test of Japanese values, such as gaman, which is enduring the unbearable with patience and dignity, or shigataganai, which is moving forward with resilience over a situation that cannot be helped. The leaders in the Japanese communities during the incarceration were 20-year-olds, the same age as many of the students who worked on this excavation. And I thank Uncle Charlie for returning to Pejo, and to cousins Grace and Irene to share this experience of returning to the land. This has been so special to learn another facet of where you are from and embrace that cultural fabric which binds us. And to the Yoshida family, we are not only multi-generations of Americans of Japanese descent, but now from Pejo, we're the culture bearers of this special history. So I'd like to turn this over to Auntie Margie Yoshida Fiss.
As Pam said, oops. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. As Pam said that, well, I'm just so proud of my nieces who've just spoken. They spoke so well, and appreciate your sharing with all our friends, family here. And again, to the students, Dr. Jones, it has been a wonderful experience for me to get to know everyone. I am, as I said, Marge Yoshida Fiss, and second to the youngest of the original 12 Yoshida family children. My younger sister Betsy and I, Betsy is here, just raised her hand. She and I are the only surviving members of the original family. My grandfather, father, and mother, with the children, resided in the Pejo site where Dr. Jones's archaeology students used for their field investigation. We thank Dr. Jones, his colleagues, and his students for their interest and support to help us in finding our roots here at Pejo. Looking forward, we have nieces and nephews who I hope will continue their connection with Pejo. Want to extend thanks to my nieces Irene, Grace, and Pam, who have devoted many hours in the past few months working with Dr. Jones and his students. And it has really been a wonderful, this display is absolutely marvelous, and I'm very impressed with all of you. At this time, the family would like to present a small thank you gift to Dr. Jones, Sally Grant, and Mike Taggart for all their help, support, and bringing us to where we are. Irene, Grace, and Pam will present each with a bottle of sake brewed in Japan, Yamaguchi Prefecture, where my parents, Tomoichi and Chikuno, were married before they immigrated to America. I think with that,
Sally, Mike, come on up, come on, say hi.
and I guess I will turn this back over to Dr. Jones, I'm sorry. But this was a wonderful gathering and wonderful display again for the students. You did a magnificent job. And to all of you for being with us today, thank you so much.
I don't like those. Here I am on this project once again, wiping away a tear. Thank you so very much. Thank you all for being here this evening. That's pretty much the end of our program. We will entertain questions if anybody has any. Otherwise, I've got this bottle.
Would they give us a queja?
Okay. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you all for joining us, both virtually and in person. I'm going to stop the recording and have a lovely evening to everybody. Thank you.
Please do look at this display. It's gonna take a while for all of you to be able to see it, but I hope it's